5, 4, 3, 2, now. Now. There you go.
Good morning. Okay. Good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing? Hey, Derek and Richard, and looks like there's some more people there that haven't commented. Beautiful Thursday. I think it's Thursday. It's kind of Groundhog Day in my area since we're all shelter in place and all. Let us know how you're all doing. Let us know how much sobriety you got. Ty, good job. A year, 79 days. That is freaking awesome. One day is awesome. So good job, everybody. Let us know how your audio quality and if there's an echo and all that, and, so we can fine tune this machine we got. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about I'm not like other alcoholics. We're going to talk about relapse and rehab and alcohol addiction. And when we talk about I'm not like other alcoholics, it's something I see very often when I'm working with people that are trying to recover from alcoholism, and that's that. I'm not like you guys. I'm different. I'm unique. Their problems are unique. You don't understand. I hear that a lot. You don't understand that I've got this going on and this going on, and sure, our stories are always a little bit different, and maybe the things that have caused our alcoholism, or maybe nothing caused our alcoholism, we just drank too much and we became alcoholics or whatever. But in my experience and in my terminal uniqueness, I've always found somebody that has a similar story or worse or whatever. And it's something that's important to notice and to be aware of, because a lot of these people, well, I've seen a lot of people get sober with their terminal uniqueness. And really, the cause of alcoholism and what's happening in our brains is pretty much the same, regardless of your outside situations and regardless of what's happened in your life. Alcoholism is alcoholism. And the solution is pretty much the same as well. The solution can be as simple as just not drinking anymore ever again. But for me, that's not the full solution. The solution for me is to have a happy life. I don't want to, if I'm sitting there fighting my alcoholism every day of the week, every hour of the day, I'm not going to get sober. And I was looking around and looking for different what different types of alcoholics there are, and there's so many different sites that say things. Well, I saw one site and it says there's the young adult alcoholic, the young antisocial alcoholic, the intermediate familial, whatever that means, the functional, the chronic severe. And I could probably fit into, well, maybe not the young adult, but I could probably fit into a lot of the categories. I mean, there's other ones that are like, a person that's just psychologically dependent, and he drinks to relieve the emotional or physical pain, or the alcoholic that like gets in accidents and breaks things all the time, breaks himself all the time and ends up in the hospital, gets blackouts and has cirrhosis of the liver, that sort of thing, or the alcoholic that loses all control, and that they have just this severe alcohol dependence and they have to have alcohol all the time, or the alcoholic that just loses control and they just can't stop drinking. Or there's the one that's just like the most advanced, what they call, and that's the alcoholic that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They always have maintain a certain level. That's kind of the way I was. I was 24 hours a day, definitely at the end. But for many, many years, I wasn't 24 hours a day. It just turned into that. But the terminal uniqueness, it's something that can prevent a lot of people from finding that solution to alcoholism. And we kind of got to look at it closely and understand that other people have gone through the same thing and have gotten sober. And that's an important thing to realize, that no matter how hopeless you are, you can get sober. And it's just a matter of starting where you are. If one of you or any of you are still drinking right now, starting right now. I mean, obviously you need to go to a doctor and get whatever treatment that you need, but you can get sober. Anybody can get sober. I've seen the most hopeless people get sober and stay sober for a long, long time. But they just have to, you know, they have to do what it takes. It takes some work. For me in the
Yeah,
beginning, it was kind of a lot of work, but now it's not a ton of work. It's just consistent work. That's the important thing.
absolutely. And I think if I was to categorize myself as an alcoholic back in the day, I would probably be the arrogant prick alcoholic. Why? Not because I was overly, like, I wasn't like a jerk, like some people are like obvious jerks. I was just silently condescending to every alcoholic because I was like, oh, I'm not like you. I'm not like these people. I mean, that guy, he missed the toilet when he tried to go to the bathroom. I'm not like that. Or this guy's falling over. I'm not like that. And pretty soon I found out that I became like that. I became the alcoholic that I thought I wasn't. And even when I became that, I was like, well, I'm still not like them. I read books. I mean, come on now. I read books and I listen to tapes and I've studied this stuff. And when I go into therapy, the therapist asks me my opinions on things because she likes that I've read things. So I can't possibly be like these other people. And, we look at it, and sometimes we look at things in a proud way, but we don't realize it's pride. And we don't realize that that pride is keeping us drunk. For me, that kept me drunk. I kept saying, no, I'm not like these people. I'm not like, I tried a church type AA thing because I used to go to church and stuff. And I tried that out, and I'm like, I'm not like these people. I'm different, so I can't possibly be like them. And I'd listen to stories and be like, well, I'm not like that. I'm not that bad. And I'd constantly judging what these people were like and what they needed. And I was an expert in how to help everyone. Yet inside, I wasn't able to help myself. I couldn't help myself stop drinking for more than like 3 weeks if I really gave it a try. And I always found myself drunk again. And then I realized, hey, look, here we are. I'm getting drunk. I'm not functioning anymore. I mean, I function as far as people looking at me from the world. They're like, okay, he's functioning. He's paying his bills. He's keeping his stuff going. But I was an absolute wreck. And that looking upon other alcoholics and saying I was different was what kept me drunk. And I remember it even crept in the mental hospital that I was in for 4 hours, and the rehab. I was in the mental hospital, and I was like, I'm not like these people. I mean, the lady over there is clenching her pillow. She looks like she's going to jump up and poke people in the eye. She looks crazy, and I'm not like her. And then there was a lady talking to every blade of grass, and I'm like, I'm not like her. I don't belong here. And then there was a little voice in my head that said, yeah, you kind of do belong here because you drank enough and you went crazy. And crazy people belong here. And normal people that aren't crazy don't drink as much alcohol as you do, where they could be dead at any minute. And so we look at it and we find the common ground in the fact that we're all the same because we can't quit drinking. Like, I would look at it, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm a business guy. Terry cooks. He's got this life. I got this life. I'm not like Terry, not like that guy. Or I'm not like Jim, or I'm not like Sally, or whoever it is in your rehab, or in life. You look at it and you're like, well, I'm not like them. But the more I got to know people, the more I got to understand what was going on. There was no difference between Terry and I. No difference at all. We both couldn't stop drinking. And we find the common ground there. And we look at it because what's happening is we've been preconditioned by society to look down on alcoholics. This is a big, deep-rooted issue. They look down on them. It's even in the Bible. It's like, oh, those drunkards, those drunkards, those drunkards. And even in other cultures, they look down on the alcoholic. And what happens is we start to look down on the alcoholic. And when we do that, we look at it as, well, I'm not like them because I'm like this, and I could quit whenever I want, or whatever it is, and we have this pride. Or maybe you look at it like I did, where it's like, well, that's pretty simple. So, like, you're going to do a couple of steps, or you're going to just not drink every day. Yeah, that seems pretty simple. I need a complicated solution. I need to figure out what happened back in the day when I was being grown up and all these things happened and I got to figure out what happened because I read Dr. Freud and I read all these other people and I study this stuff. But the fact of the matter is you could study every damn thing you want. You can listen to every damn YouTube video you want. But the fact of the matter is if someone is there and they've gotten sober, they have gotten a result that you do not have. So I'm like, okay, I can't stay sober. And that's when I went into rehab and everything started to change. And I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute. This guy here that I would have been like, oh, you're not like me, you're different, not as good as me, is what my mind would think. Luckily, I have been shown the error of my ways there. But I would think that. And then I was able to look at it and say, well, you know what? This guy's been sober for 25 years. Maybe I should listen. And by the grace of whatever you believe in, for some reason in my rehab, I got the rehab coach who was like a 3-time PhD professor, taught in different languages, psychology guy, knew everything. I mean, this guy was like a walking school. And I was like, wait a minute, this guy's smart. Like on the outside, you'd look at him, you'd be like, oh, he's just another addict or whatever. But he was actually pretty smart. And it wasn't the smart stuff that resonated with me. It was the fact that a smart guy needed something simple to stay sober.
Yep.
And I was like, wait a minute. And here I am in rehab, and I'm thinking I'm like the smartest dude in the room. And this guy walks in, and I'm like, yeah, I don't speak German. Yeah, I I tried to read that book you recommended, and I couldn't understand it. I tried to do this, and what happened was I had to let go of my pride. And I think that's what step one is all about, is admitting to yourself and looking at the fact that I can't do this. I'm not the be-all, end-all. I'm not the king of the universe. I'm a fucking drunk. And I can't stop being a drunk. The very basic thing of human nature, like just stop drinking or you're going to die. Okay, I think I'll just keep drinking. That's how my mind worked. And we look at these basic things and it's like, we could be smart. We could be different. We could think we're unique. Maybe we only have fancy drinks. Maybe you're not like me who goes and gets the box wine and drinks it at 104 degrees because it's hot outside. Maybe you're not like me and you're a connoisseur. Or maybe you're like this, or maybe you don't have as much as us. I mean, you're not like Marcus. You didn't go to the mental hospital. I mean, shit, that guy's real screwed up. I'm different. And what we do is we look at this stuff as I'm different, when in actuality, we're all the same. I've been where you're at. I know what it's like to not be able to quit. I know what it's like to wake up feeling like shit every day. I even thought that I was so clever that I hid alcohol under the grates of my gas barbecue, because the grate things, the little covers that go over the gas things, fit perfectly. A nice 40 just fit right in there. I thought I was unique. I was like, damn, man, I got this handle. I thought I was unique because I actually hid alcohol in the sheetrock. Right? I had a huge bruise on my arm because I was trying to get it one day when I was drunk and I needed more. And I thought I was unique. And then I went to rehab and this guy's like, oh yeah, I put him in my barbecue too. It's not the greatest place to keep him cold, but we do that too. And what we find out is that we're not all that different. And that's why it's so powerful to listen to other alcoholics, to listen to their story, even if you think it's outlandish, even if you don't like the person, right? Even if you're like, I'd probably never sit down and have a meal with this person, but maybe there's some truth. Maybe I could listen to what they're saying. Maybe I can understand it. And maybe I could realize that we are all part of the human condition. And if you drink as much as I drank, you'll probably be an alcoholic, and you're probably going to need the same things I needed to get out of it. And I think letting go of all the junk, letting go of all the things that keep us stuck, because I probably could have gotten sober 2 or 3 years earlier if I let go of my pride. That is a fact. If I let go of it and just said, you know what, yeah, I need some help. I can't do this. All the books in the world aren't helping me. This ain't working. And if I just listened.
Yeah, that was totally me as well. Is the thinking that I got this, because I always told myself that I got this. I don't need help. I don't need anybody's help. I've done everything in my life on my own. I've gotten to where where I am today on my own. And that was a drunk, just about ready to lose everything. But still, that's how I thought all the time. And yeah, it took me hitting a huge bottom, which doesn't have to happen for everybody. You guys don't have to hit the bottom to stop drinking. You just have to recognize that alcohol has become a problem and that you need to stop. But hey, I wanted to just point out Richard 76 days, Kate's Chaos 359 days today. Little Diddy, a little over a year, no alcohol. That's awesome. Good job, you guys. Yeah, Little Diddy, you also said that you wish for the day that I can say and feel like I don't drink, and but you have a year and some odd, so you don't drink, right? But in anyways, and if anybody's craving even after having some time sobriety, that's okay. That happens. I get a craving here and there, but it doesn't happen very often anymore. It slows down and slows down. And one of the writers of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, he craved alcohol for a couple of years after he got sober. So it's okay. Many of us have been there. Um,
Absolutely. And Donna says, my excuse was always, but I'm a discerning, choosy wine connoisseur, not an addict. Yeah, so was I. I was very choosy. I was very
yep.
prideful about the beers and the alcohol that I consumed. I overpaid for it because I was smart, right? It's like,
Oh yeah.
let's get the $400 cognac, not the cheap stuff. Let's get this, not this. And I really prided myself on it. And then I realized it was a bunch of bullshit. That's all it was. Like at the end of the day, you really can't tell. I think they've actually tested um, in wine testing. They've taken like connoisseurs and they've given them blind taste test, and there's no difference. They'll choose the $1.99 one and they'll choose the $500 one. There's no like some choose. They just it's like they can't even tell. But I think it's very important to look at. Looks like Stephanie, good to see you. She says she's on day 3. Yes, alcohol is getting very glorified in the lockdown on social media. Um, it's always there. I think it's more noticeable when you get sober. Um, but let everyone do what they're doing. You focus on you.
Yep. Oh, I got it. Little Diddy says, correct. I have not had a drink. Just don't feel confident that I'm not a drunk and ready for a drink.
Hmm.
Right on. Well, it's easy to stay away from alcohol. Just don't drink. Well, maybe it's not easy. But yeah, late night. I had 14 years sober and fell off. Now I'm drinking every day. I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope you can get back. I the hardest thing to do is to go to that doctor and do what they tell you to do. Definitely, but that's what I had to finally do. I started after rehab. I started drinking again. Now that was only about a month after, so I didn't have any time in or anything. But it doesn't matter. A month to 14 years. I've seen people with 25 years start drinking again, and it's a tough, terrible thing that happens. And the key was is I finally went to the doctor and I had to just completely surrender that I had to do whatever it takes to get sober, and that's what I started to do. And one was what Marcus had already said, which was basically crushing my ego and just becoming humble, realizing that I don't have the answers. I don't got this. I have to do what people tell me to do. And that was the beginning of sobriety. And that's what I still do today. I try to do what people that have successful sobriety do. And I see a lot of people in all different walks of lives, and when we're hanging out together, from the dishwasher at the restaurant to the CEO of a corporation, we're all the same. And that's one thing that I have to realize is that I'm the same as the CEO, as a dishwasher, whatever. We're all the same as far as recovery from alcoholism goes. Some people may have a bigger house. That's it. But for recovery from alcoholism doesn't care what we do for a living or anything like that. Just like this virus that's going around, it don't care. And the solution, it's the same. It's
Absolutely.
definitely the same.
Late Night Joy says, after I got married, my wife is a drinker, and eventually I began to drink and smoke again. Do I get rid of her as well? She is part of the problem. I feel stuck. Well, I don't know if it's time to get rid of her, but maybe it's time to have a good talk
Yeah.
and say, hey, look, this is what I'm struggling with. Can you help me out? Maybe don't drink in the house. Maybe drink on your own. Whatever agreement works for you. I know some people are okay with their spouses drinking. Some people are not. It completely depends on you, but what we don't want to do is make rash, mean decisions like, "Oh, get out of here, wife! You're drinking and dragging me down." Unless that's the case. I mean, that's a topic for another type of channel. But we want to look at it and be very rational about it and say, what do I need to do to protect myself and set myself up for inevitable sobriety? What can I do? Now, you're not going to have inevitable sobriety if you go to the bar every day. If I'm getting sober and I go to the bar every day, I'm probably not going to stay sober very long because it's going to get in my mind. It's there. Eventually, I'm going to have a drink. So we got to look at what's going to happen for you. Does it bother you that she has the alcohol in the house? If it does, have a talk. If it doesn't, maybe figure out what you're going to do instead, or maybe figure out when she drinks and you choose to go to a meeting or do something sober, talk to sober people, figure out what you're going to do. Because in life, what I learned as an alcoholic, I used to think that I could change people's brains and learn enough to change their brains. And to some degree, you can affect people's outcomes. But the best you can do in life is ask cooperation. That's it. And you look at, okay, what am I going to do? Okay, I need to be sober. That equals no alcohol in the house. I go to the wife, I say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Doctor says it's not good. It's not working for me. I need to be away from alcohol. I don't know how long I need to be away, but right now I'd really appreciate if you could not drink in the house. Okay? She could either say yes, or she could say, hey, piss off, I'm not an alcoholic. You do you, I'll do me. And you have to decide what you're going to do then. Whatever it is. Maybe spend some time away. Maybe go to a inpatient kind of rehab or something. Maybe go to a bunch of meetings every day. Maybe fill your mind with things that'll help you. But if you always have that thing there nagging you, it's going to be very difficult. So again, when I say set yourself up for inevitable, what's the inevitable? What's going to happen if I do this? Inevitably, if I eat chips and drink Coke every night, I'm inevitably going to get fat. That's just what's going to happen. What's that?
I said, darn it. That's what I want to do.
But we have to look at, what can you do to set yourself up for inevitable sobriety? And I think if you look at every alcoholic who's remained sober for an amount of time, that's what they've done. They might not have known that's what they did, but that's what they did. Terry, he looks at it and he's like, okay, in the beginning, I went to a rehab, and then I go to meetings, and then I go on my bike rides. I stay out of the bars. I find what I'm going to drink instead if there's alcohol around. But he set himself up for inevitably ending up where he's at now. And you can do the same thing. You have to look at it and say, what do I need to do to set it up? And this is the thing about life, is there are things that you have control over. That's why I love the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change. I can't change the fact that I'm an alcoholic. Can't do it. I'm an alcoholic. Once it's done, the switch is on, it's over. I don't know what that means for the rest of my life. I don't know all the stuff, but I do know it means there has to be some changes, right? Now, I can't change that fact, but what can I do? I can do things so that I cannot drink. Okay, so I can do that. Or if you want to be successful, you do the work. You work every day, you get successful. If you want to learn a new skill, you go, you learn the skill. And I've read in some books that it usually takes about 2,000 hours to become an expert on a topic. That's a decent amount. And if you take that and you're like, okay, I'm going to spend 2,000 hours learning about sobriety, understanding sobriety, and most importantly, staying sober, then I'm going to start to set myself up differently. And I'm going to start to change my mind. And that's the thing, right? Alcohol has warped our brain. It's made us think that our concocted ideas of our life are real, and they're really not. And so it's going to take time to overcome those. You can overcome them. And then slowly you build a new way of thinking. Your thought process was built based on your life. And one of the things I look at that gives you a really good perspective and humility is if I was you and I grew up like you and I had the brain you had and I made the choices you had, today I would be you. I'd be exactly where you're at. If you grew up in my situation, you went through what I went through, you would end up where I'm at. That's the inevitability, right? If you set up someone's life, like if you could orchestrate it and say, we're going to make Marcus 2.0, right? And we're going to have him born in the same thing, and the parents, here's a script, they're going to read the same thing, the outcome would be the same. Now, that mindset was built accidentally. It was built out of survival. This is what we need to get by. But the neat thing about being sober is now you get to choose the mindset you want. You're not plagued by all the other. You could sit down and say, well, I'd like to be a positive thinker, or maybe I'd like to be a critical thinker, or maybe I'd like to slow down my thoughts. That was a big one for me because I'd talk to people. I'd be like, you talk too damn slow. Get to the freaking point. I got work to do. And I didn't realize that the guy who talked slow had the answers. He was chill. I was in that case. Right? And I'd be like, well, I got more money than him, so I'm better. I'd be like, well, maybe not. You didn't check his account, pompous ass. You don't know anything. And so we look at it, and you have to look at it and say, some of these people have secrets. And some of the things we have to look at is, what did they do to get there? What did that guy do to calm his mind? He probably wasn't always like that. Okay, so he did something. So we got to look at how we're going to affect our thought life, how we're going to change it deliberately this time.
Right. Absolutely. Trek, I just wanted to answer your question real quick. Terry, do you still get cravings? And not really. There's a thought here and there. Sure. I mean, the alcoholism's still in me. So a thought comes, but I have things that I can do if a craving was to come up or that thought comes up. And that's really, it comes down to as simple as just getting busy, pausing and doing something else. And late night, I wanted to answer your question. Where do I start? Go to AA meetings. Thank you. Doctor. That's the most important thing, because withdrawal can kill you. So, and you said you had 14 years, so you've probably gone through the withdrawals, and you know how they can be. So a doctor's first thing. AA meetings, not very many of them are in person right now. Maybe there are where you guys live, maybe not. That's usually the best way, so you can talk to people, face to face. But there's a million online ones, and it's a great resource. And you can just Google AA remote meetings, online meetings, something like that. AASF.org has a ton of them here in the Bay Area. There's all morning, all night, every day, 7 days a week. You can just click on it. If you go there, you just click on the link and you can check them out and just watch, or you can participate, whatever you want. And that's a great way. We don't do our things every day of the week. So the other days you can hit those meetings. That's a great resource. A lot of good sobriety in those meetings. I see a lot of people I know in them. Yep. Montgomery just said Zoom meetings. That's it. So you just download a Zoom app. You can do it on your phone, your PC, whatever. And yeah, that's the thing to do.
Absolutely. Riley has a question. He says, I binge drink to the point of blacking out 2 to 3 times a month. I only drink twice a week usually, though. I don't feel dependent on alcohol. Would I be considered an alcoholic? Well, I think one of the things you have to look at first and foremost is binge drinking is very dangerous because your toxicity levels go through the roof. So I would definitely see a doctor and tell him what's going on and figure out that part. But the telltale sign of an alcoholic is, can you stop? Whatever it is that is affecting the negative stuff in your life. So you binge drink 2 to 3 times a month, you black out. I'm sure that doesn't feel good. I'm sure the next morning doesn't feel good either. I'm sure other parts of your life are affected. So that would be a negative consequence in your life. Are you continuing to drink even though there's negative consequences in your life? If the answer is yes, then you're probably an alcoholic. most definitely in my life. I found that is the case. And also, can you quit? Right? The best way to find out if you're dependent on alcohol is give it up. Right? You find out real quick what you're dependent on when you start giving things up. And so we got to look at that and we got to say, okay, well, what's the deal? And also, look at the facts rather than the definition, because there's all kinds of definitions and different things and all kinds of stuff, and alcoholism is more often than not a self-diagnosed type of thing. It's not like we go and get a blood test and they're like, yeah, you're an alcoholic, although I think if they tested my blood back then they probably would have said that. So we look at that and we're like, okay, am I continuing to drink even though there's negative consequences? Why am I looking at sober trainings on YouTube? Why am I looking at that? Why, normal people don't do that. My wife has never looked that up, right? She doesn't really care because she's not an alcoholic. Riley, you say you're 2 weeks sober so far. See how it goes.
Yep.
Right? Take a look at it.
Friends.
See how it goes. And if you have cravings, if you're looking at it, that's what you want to look at. Now, as far as chemical dependency goes, in my limited non-doctor, don't ever listen to Marcus view, from what I understand, the chemical dependency part of alcoholism usually ends right around the time detox is over, once it's out of your system, and then it moves into the mental craving part, right? So we have to look at that and say, okay, well, we got mental cravings, we got physical cravings, what's the deal? Now, mental cravings can also produce a physical result, but that's not necessarily meaning, oh, hey, I'm like needing this to survive now. So we got to look at that. And what I would say is always go back to what's it like in your life? What's it like? I mean, you woke up one day and said, I'm going to try to stay sober, which is why you're 2 weeks right now. Why? Why? If it's not a problem, why? And really ask yourself the honest question. You know, is this something that I want to continue doing? And what if I prove to myself over and over? Well, you know, I go and I drink once a week, which is good. Okay, only once a week, I'm doing good. But every time I drink, I black out. Or most of the times I drink, I black out. And I had to look at this really hard. And I remember when I was first learning about alcoholism, they said, hey, look, you know, you are continuing to drink even though this bad stuff's happening. Like, even though all this is happening, you're continuing to drink. Why? Normal people don't do that. They don't. Like, if you were sitting in the corner and, like, slapping yourself in the face, and I said, stop, your face is hurting, and you kept doing it, I'd be like, okay, time to check the loony bin here, because, you know, face slapping ain't a good thing. But with alcohol, for some reason, we don't really think that way. But the fact of the matter is you're screwing up your own life by your own hand by taking the drink. And while there is a little bit of choice involved, the alcoholic has lost the choice to choose. After that first drink, it's all gone. It's over. Your mind is now hijacked, and now you're in a different realm. And that's what's happening. So we have to look at that and say, this is what's happening. I need to be out of this, and I need to get sober.
Yes. Romocop, what did you say earlier? Where to go? Hold on. You said, how is AA and church not essential, but weed shops and liquor stores are? Yeah. But you know, when this thing first started, the AA meetings slowly started to go to Zoom, and it's just because you got a whole bunch of people in a small room. I mean, you've seen it on the news where the church services happened anyways, and you know, 30% of the people got sick. So I think it just makes sense that they stopped. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be going to an in-person meeting right now. That's just not something I would risk because I don't know if I'm asymptomatic and all that. So I think that's just common sense. And one of the things I do because I'm sober is I follow the CDC guidelines. I follow rules. I never followed rules. There was always a way around it. And nowadays I follow the rules because it's just an easier way to live. Just like the rules that I have set for myself for sobriety, I follow those rules 100%. Because if I don't follow them 100%, I'm going to take back a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And eventually sobriety is going to go out the window. So that's just kind of my take on that. But Derek, you did a 3-hour bike ride. Good job. You know, the other day I did a 5-hour bike ride. in my living room with my little Zwift app. And, it's kind of got boring a little bit here and there, but it's something to get my mind just in one place and kind of focus. And I guess you could look at it as a way of meditating. And that's something that I try to do here and there, and it helps keep my mind clean and clear. Right on.
Absolutely. And also, while we're answering these questions, I wanted to show you what Terry and I have been working on. We have been working on, let's see if it came up right, this 30-day sobriety plan for you. Sorry, Terry, I have to block your face out and put this in the way, but if there was a way to do it with me, I would, but my camera is different and it's on a different layer, so when I move this, it doesn't show up over there. But at any rate, this is a 30-day sobriety plan based on the 30 letters that I've written. There are 30 letters that I've written that are going to be part of my up-and-coming book that I'm releasing on alcoholism. And what we did is we turned this into like its own little course, like your own personal, these are the things that will help get sober. These are things that helped us. Now, again, this isn't meant to take place of rehab or anything else. This is to help you get the mindset to stay sober, which is everything. That's key. And so what you'll see is you have like day one, the sober journey. It's got a MP4 video you can click and watch, a PDF to download with worksheets, MP3 so you can download it to your phone and listen to it while you're on your 4-hour bike ride or walk, or if you're me, sitting outside having a cigar, that's my exercise. And you can go through everything. And it's meant to take you through all of these in order. And what's going to happen is you're going to start to change your thoughts and you're going to start to see an outside point of view. So if these videos help you, what we've done is we've made this super inexpensive for you guys to get started with. You can go over to talksober.com and you can just click on the button support the channel right here, or it'll come up over here too. And you can get that, and it's like a little membership site where you can go in and you can help us support the channel, help what we're doing here. And you can also get all this stuff, which is going to help you get sober. Again, we're not doctors or anything, but this is showing you the mindset, because I think there's a lot of mindset stuff that I've learned that has really helped me, because, sometimes you have to take like a basket case like me to, show people, hey, this is how it works, because my mind was kind of drastic in one way, and I was able to change my thoughts and learn different things as we go along. And this is something that you can do on your own time. They're all in there. You just go in and watch the videos and read the things. You fill out the worksheets. Terry made little worksheets you can go through and, oh, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is how this works. And you'll see that we go from things from the sober journey to obsession of the mind. This is a really important one. The reptile brain, which talks about physical and mental cravings. False confidence based on feelings, which is a very important one, where you're going to go and you're going to learn about people who get sober and think, hey, I got this. And that's how usually you get not gotten it. How to beat alcoholism, return to center, which is a very important one that I pretty much do on a daily basis still today. Denial, hurricane of thoughts, do this daily to not drink, the 2-foot drop, and on we go, from brainwashing and mind control to all kinds of things, how to love and care for yourself, how to understand what's going on, how to have forgiveness and everything. So if you want to get that, just hop over to talksober.com, click on support the show. You could sign up, you'll get access to all that, as well as help us out for less than the price of a cheap beer a day. And I'm talking like super cheap beer, like one that should not be consumed, so pretty cool. And that's there to help you out. You'll also get a copy of my book when it comes out in PDF format. And I think it's really good for people who are looking for changing their mindset on sobriety.
Yep. Yeah, that program is really that it really cuts down to what Marcus and I do and did every day since we've gotten sober, and what we did to get sober. It really breaks it down to the way our minds work, and what we need to do going forward. And I still use all the stuff in that program every day.
Yeah.
And it works.
And I think what we really did is reverse engineered what successful people were getting. We looked at people who were getting sober and we're like, what the hell are these people doing? Like, why is there a guy who can't get sober, and why is there a guy who just seems to nail it? What's the difference? And again, we looked at that idea of inevitability. Like, how can I make it inevitable? How can I make relapse like not inevitable, and sobriety completely inevitable. And I look at it, and I look at a lot of people on YouTube, and a lot of them, they in and out of rehabs. We had a guy in our rehab, or I think it was a guy or a gal, I don't remember which one it was. There was two that were in and out of rehabs. One was in there like 14 times. They were on their 14th rehab, and I'm like, damn, man, I don't know, like, did you hawk your house to go to rehab 14 times? I mean, and in addition to that, not just the money, but the time. That means he spent a year and 2 months in rehab of his life. And after spending a year and 2 months immersed in alcohol education, still relapsing. And so I looked at things, and that was what I was obsessed with in rehab, is why do people relapse? I don't want to relapse, so I need to understand it. And I went to every counselor, every guest. I asked everyone, why did you relapse? If someone came in and said, I relapsed, I'd say, why did you relapse? Why did that happen? Why did you not relapse? And I was very, very interested in that because I wanted to really get down to what really works. And that's what we've gotten into there is the mindset changes that Terry and I have both had. Derek says, I started Googling, am I a functioning alcoholic, and tried moderating. Well, you probably found the first video there. That was one of our more popular ones, am I a functioning alcoholic? So yeah, good to have you here. But I see now you've been sober some time, I believe, if that's the right commenter.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of time.
Awesome.
And I tried moderating many times. No, that didn't work for me. I was completely unable to do it. And Marcus is talking about the people that have gone to rehab a million times, and there's people that they may that's actually the easier way, because there's other people that they had one accident and they severely hurt some people, and they're in prison for a long time. I mean, that's the reality of this stuff. So it's important that if you think you got a problem, you get help, man. It's it's important. Let's see. Montgomery says, I think people became complacent and then the drink has the power. Yeah. A good friend of mine, he just started drinking again, I don't know, a couple of days ago, something like that. And he's done the rehabs over and over and over again. The person that ran the rehab that Marcus and I went to, he'd been to rehab 13 times, and then he was finally able to get sober. He's got like 20, I don't know, he's close to 30 years right now sober. He was able to find it. We can find it anytime, but you don't have to relapse. You can get sober one time, and that's it, and be done.
Absolutely. And I think that's what your study should be is how can I prevent relapse? I think personally for me, relapse is far too accepted in alcohol culture. Like, sure, if it happens, let's minimize it. Let's deal with it. And yes, it does happen. And it's not like a down talking to the people who do relapse. It's more of a let's change the culture and let's focus more on let's all get sober. Let's focus on what we need to do. Let's give the relapse education so people can understand, hey, you know what? Having one drink could very much lead to relapse. Like right now, if I had a drink, I've been sober almost 6 years, it would probably lead to relapse. So I don't have that first drink. Now, what is it the other people have? Is it something that's like, oh, well, I'm good. I could say I'm 6 years sober. One beer's not going to hurt. I mean, I could do that. But will it? What are the protections you're putting in place? And that's another thing. I think it was in which letter was that? Let's see. Do you remember which one that was, Terry?
No, what are you looking for again?
The letter that was about relapse primarily.
Oh boy, I don't remember exactly which one because I'm all over the place in the letters right now. But yeah, there's a letter in there. I can look it up real quick, and I'll look it up and.
Okay. Cool.
But,
is moderation possible is definitely a good one. That's day number 11.
Yes.
So yeah, that'll go through it too. And then do this daily to not drink. And these are all personal experience. This is stuff that I go through on a daily basis. It was written over the last 3 years. So a lot of different things in there.
Yes,
Stephanie
indeed.
says it's a downward spiral for us alcoholics. You can't cut down. You can't just have one or some days of the week. Each time you start over, your situation is worse than before. Well, that's my case. Yeah, absolutely. That's how it's been with me. It was progressive as I drank and drank more and tried to stop and picked it up again. Very important. And what I would do, like Romocop says, is remember the pain. Take that worst day drinking and remember that. Like what I do is when I think about that, I try to associate in my brain, hey, you know what? Alcohol equals the day that I was sick and couldn't work and was guilt ridden and my mind wouldn't shut up and I was shaking from anxiety so much that I remember going to the bar the next day and spilling my drink all over because I couldn't even hold it. That's what I remember. And because what's going to happen is your mind has a built in forgetter. And it wants to forget. And it wants to say alcohol is all fun and good. It's a lot like you look at people who are in abusive relationships, right? They have this weird forgetter and justifier. These two things we have as alcoholics, a forgetter and a justifier. And you take that person who's abused and you're like, well, get out of the relationship. Tommy's beating your butt. You need to get away from Tommy or whatever, right? But that person keeps going back, and you're like, why is that person going back? What's wrong with them? Well, what they're doing is they're remembering the good times and saying, well, it's not that bad. And they also have a justifier that says, well, he's really a good guy. You don't understand. And it's like, yeah, but you're being harmed. You need to get out of there. You need to leave. But, it's not that bad. And the same thing with alcohol. Well, I had some good times with alcohol. It does shut off my thoughts. It does help with anxiety. I know if I was anxious today, and I had a beer or two beers or a glass of wine, I know my anxiety would drop for the moment. But I also know that I never stop at one glass. I never do. I don't even stop at one bottle. I keep going and going until the house is dry. And then the next day I feel like shit, so I got to keep drinking. And then I get anxious and then I keep drinking again. And it's a big cycle. And I forget all that. I just say, hey, this helps with anxiety. That's it. And then I justify, well, alcohol's not that bad. I did drink that one time back in 1904 and I didn't get drunk. Well, yeah, Marcus, that's because that was the first time you ever drank and you thought it tasted like shit, so you only had one. But it's not really that bad. But we have to look at it and we have to say, well, I've proven to myself over and over and over and over and over and over again that it doesn't work for me and that it is bad and it isn't helping me. And, you look at things like with me, I remember I was at a business meeting in Vegas. I used to run my business meetings in Vegas, and I drank, and I had a problem, which is getting better now, where I couldn't eat in front of people. And so all these people that were at the business meeting wanted to have dinner with me, so I wasn't eating, but I was drinking like a fish. And then after drinking like a fish, what do? You drink more like a fish. And then I found out I fell flat on my face and had to be escorted to my room, and I still kept drinking after that. Like, when do we learn? Why is that not a thing? I remember one night I fell off a curb and busted my arm up and my knee, and I got home drunk, and I was pissed because the beer bottle broke. I wasn't pissed because I fell in the road and could have gotten run over by a car because I literally fell into the road. I was pissed because the beer broke. And after that, I kept drinking. Right? We look at this in normal things. If you were like, well, when I walk that way, a dog jumps on me and tries to get me. You're going to stop walking that way. Everyone does. But why is it different with alcohol? Why is this relationship different? Why? Because your mindset has changed. Because it's taken over your brain and you are unable to control your thoughts, your actions, and your choices. That's why they call it under the influence. I can't go drive a car under the influence. Why? It influences me. It's not just that you're wobbly and an idiot, right? It's that it influences your very thought structure. You make decisions when you're drunk that you wouldn't make sober. You make life altering things when you're drunk that you wouldn't do sober. And you keep drinking. Why? Because you're drunk. You probably wouldn't do that if you were sober. Now that I'm sober, I'm like, I don't want to go drink. I don't want to deal with it. So we've got to get to the place where our mindset changes and now we have more control over it.
And the problem with that is one of the issues that causes a relapse is we get sober And we still have that thought process. It's still in there. It gets less and less the longer we're sober, but it's still there. Even for me, after 5 years, I can still go down that road here and there. And so I have to constantly or consistently work on my mindset so that it's going in the positive direction instead of the other direction. Like Derek says, his relapse was from a vacation, and in the beginning, lesson learned and move on, and then down a little bit, he says, mine was with a new girlfriend at the time. Actually, she wanted me to stop, and I would not recommend a vacation within the first 3 to 6 months, to be honest. And I agree with that. You know, those first 3 to 6 months for me, I just concentrated on sobriety. I tried not to do anything new, especially like a vacation or something like that. I made sure that I just just sobriety. What do I need to do to stay sober today? And that's what I did. I had to build those sober pathways in my brain, and that was really important. And now I could go on a vacation, but a lot of people that I talk to that go on vacation and stuff like that, they find a meeting. Doesn't even if it's in a foreign country in a different language. There's meetings in 160 countries now, something like that, or something like that. There's meetings all over the world, and now you can find English Zoom meetings anywhere because anywhere that has internet, pretty much, and that's super helpful.
And you can
And
always listen to talks. You can always, we're actually working on some meditation talks. I'm
yep,
working on them that you can listen to when you get in a jam. I find that that's one of the crucial things for my sobriety is always have something I can listen to if I feel anxious or I get in a jam or I need some help. Because the problem is you're stuck with your own thoughts, and it's like a cycle. Like if you have food in the fridge and there's food that's going bad, all the food in there is going to go bad, right? And that's the fact. It's like all going to go bad. You got good food, you got bad food. It's all going to end up going bad because of the bad food in there. And when we look at our lives, we have to look at our thought process, right? The only way to change your thoughts is get rid of the bad and put in good, right? And we got to do that. We got to say, okay, what am I going to put in good? Because I got my bad here, and if I just keep ruminating on it, it's going to be like that fridge. It's all going to turn bad. There might be good. There might be a little bit, there's like a banana in the corner and whatever. But it's like if there's something rotten in there, we got to change it. And the only way you're going to change it, you can't fix a rotten mind with a rotten mind. You can't fix a broken thing with more broken things. It's not going to work, right? You have to have something outside, something new that's going to fix it. And that's why in my mindset, I couldn't find the way to get sober because I was in my mindset. I think it was Einstein or someone who said, we can't fix this problem with the same thinking that got us into the problem. Right? Like, we're not going to change it. Like you look at like climate control and all that climate change stuff, however you believe about it, but you can't fix climate change with the same mindset that says let's burn up all the oil that's in the world. You can't do it. It's not going to work because that mindset says, well, let's use the oil and do this and do that. You can't do it. You need a new mindset. Same thing with our mindset drinking. We can't solve the problem with the same mind that got us drunk. My mind got me drunk. That's what it does. So what I need to do is put new stuff in it. And I need to listen to talks, go to meetings, talk to other sober alcoholics, whatever it is, read, and put new stuff in it.
yep. Upside Down says, where was it? An old friend bought me a drink, and I said, why not? And he didn't ask me if I wanted it. And Derek answered, that's a tough one. You don't want to hurt their feelings, but you know you shouldn't. For me, if somebody buys me a drink, has that happened? I'm trying to remember if that's happened for me. I've been offered drinks, absolutely, but nobody's pressured me. But sometimes that happens. Somebody buys you a drink. Oh yeah, it did happen at a birthday party once. They put the giant shot of tequila in front of me. But I just say no, thank you. If people are going to pressure me, I'm not worried about their feelings for something like that. For me, it's life and death. So it's like if somebody was to offer me, a dessert with peanuts in it, and I'm super allergic to peanuts, I'm going to say, I'm allergic. I can't eat that. Thank you so much for offering. And that can be the answer for alcohol. I'm sorry, I'm allergic to alcohol. I can't drink it. And then they may say, well, you were drinking a couple, last time I saw you. Well, I found out I'm allergic to it, so I can't. It can be as simple an answer as that. You don't have to sit there and explain that I'm an alcoholic and I ruined my life and da 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 da. Just, no, thank you. It's worked for me pretty much.
Another flip side, I do tell people I'm an alcoholic.
Yep.
I find that sometimes it's an interesting conversation. Sometimes it doesn't go beyond that. They're just like, okay, that's about it. I have found that people are a lot less judgy of recovering alcoholics than I originally thought they'd be. People are usually supportive. And if they're not, maybe not be around supportive, non-supportive people.
Another trick that, because Derek was saying that he has coffee in San Pellegrino and he was kind of the out person there because everybody else was drinking. And that's another thing I might do is I might or get a 7 Up with a splash of cranberry and nobody questions what it is. It's no big deal. I mean, it's not a matter of hiding it because I don't hide the fact that I don't drink, but just less likely or can of just getting a soda or whatever. No, I'm driving. People understand that.
And the cool thing is, I have rarely been charged by a bartender for getting a non-alcoholic drink. They're always like, just have it. And I'll give them a tip, of course, but they never charge you, so like your $6 Coke is usually free.
Yep.
I was at a video conference, and the entire time they didn't charge me. Just like, hey, yeah, go ahead, have a Coke. Like, okay, cool. And usually I'd go to a business conference when I drank, and the bar tab would be well into $1,000, which sucks because that's just wasted money, and I felt like shit, and it was not good.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
All right, guys. So I think that's about it for today. Definitely check out what we're working on over at talksober.com. You can go through the 30 days, get your MP4s, get your MP3s. The MP4s are actually loaded on the site, so you can download them and take them with you if you want to watch a video as well. The PDFs are there. We're working on a progress guide that's going to hopefully come out next week or the following week. And then you can go through and start learning all the stuff. And if anything, even if you've been sober a while, I think this will really help the mindset, because what it's about is prevention against relapse. And that was what my obsession was. And that's what it was all about. So talksober.com, you just go here. You can fill out the form here, or you can click on support our work and go to the big page here. $27 a month. You can cancel whenever you want. But I think you'll want to stay a while because we're going to be adding to it and building to it. And if you're grandfathered in at $27, that'll never change. So even when it goes up later, you got it. Working on a lot of good stuff for you. And you guys are kind of like our students to go through and tell us what you think and get all that stuff. And it's really, really good content. Terry's worked really hard making the videos. I've worked on the letters. And we're working on a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So I think you'll find it's a very good thing to have in your sobriety arsenal. So head over to talksober.com. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell. We'll see you next week, Thursday, 11 a.m. Thanks for all the new people that have joined in. Always good to have you. Stay sober, and we'll see you next time.